What's going on, guys? Winner Kills here, and as you guys requested, thank you for voting on that poll I created earlier in the community section of the channel. Appreciate you guys' feedback for deciding what video will be the video that goes up today, because like I said, I'm still gonna need a little more time. I'm actually gonna be doing some testing after I'm done recording this video with a friend of mine on the new BA build, as well as a couple other decks, because as you guys know, I'm waiting on some things before we get to updating the whole list of decks I have written on the whiteboard over there, you know, post ban list, etc, etc. So the video today, as you saw in the title, is looking at some of the top cards in Rising Rampage. Now this is coming out on July 24th, sneak peek this weekend, I believe on the 21st and 2nd, I think, or the 20th and the 21st, one of those two sets of dates. This is based off the spoiler that has been released on the Yugioh organization. We have pretty much all the secrets, the ultras, all but one of the 14 super rares, and all 20 out of 20 rares. The rest of the commons aren't listed, but I figured, at least anyways, most of the commons probably won't be too noteworthy. I know in some sets there's usually a couple noteworthy commons, but taking a look at the bulk of the noteworthy sort of foil cards in this set, some of these cards I'm a fan of, some of them I'm not a fan of, but I gotta mention them just because they're gonna be chase cards, at least to a certain extent. The first one here is Metal Stake Murakumo no Orochi, which I believe has a different name coming into the TCG, which is Gizmek Orochi, the Serpentron Sky Slasher. I'm not sure which one is going to be the TCG name, but this card basically says if this card is in your hand or graveyard, quick effect, you can banish 8 cards from the top of your deck face down as cost, special from this card. And then it says you can banish 3 cards from your extra deck face down, then target one face-up monster on the field. Destroy it. You can only use one effect of Metal Snake Murakumo no Orochi per turn, and only once that turn. So this card, I think when everybody sees it, they sort of think of the Fairy Tale Snow. I don't really think this is a Fairy Tale Snow, just because the way it's worded, I don't know if you can use the effect to just banish 3 to pop a monster, because it doesn't say that is a quick effect. The first effect to summon it from your hand or graveyard is a quick effect, and I guess coming out at a 2400 body isn't so bad. But the thing I think we'll see a lot of decks be using this for are those Grenmaju, you know, banish decks that gain 1,000,000 life points in the process, and also just summon Grenmaju at like 20,000 attack and just swing for a game. It's one of those types of decks that you kind of got to be careful with. I've been seeing some OCG videos of the deck playing recently, and just playing tons and tons of hand traps and tons of banish cards like Eater of Millions and this card, and it's pretty insane actually. It's just the stun factor. It's such an oddball deck to play against. So this card, I think coming out won't be too expensive. I don't see it being that expensive. It is going to be one of the secret rares coming out. I don't see this card fetching any more than $20 on release date. So if this is something you were looking to get, I would probably get it ASAP before something starts playing it that makes this card busted. But like, I just don't see a ton of potential for this card other than certain rogue decks that'll be piloting this card in some way, shape, or form. But next, we're going to be talking about sort of as a whole here. I think we're only getting 4 Marincess cards, at least from what I saw on the spoiler on Yugioh Pro. Or not on Yugioh Pro, on the Yugioh organization. And the only ones that have been shown is Marincess Blue Slug and Seahorse, both being ultras, these 2 cards right here. And then Anemone and Marbled Rock also being confirmed for secret rares as well. This is an archetype that will become significantly better. Oh, and Marincess Wave is also an ultra rare. Let me go ahead and add that to the list here. Marincess Wave, the trap card, the really good trap card, wherever that ends up wanting to sort. So yeah, the really good trap card, Marincess Wave, and I'm assuming if we do get any other Marincess cards, they will be common, but I don't think we're getting that many Marincess cards in Rising Rampage to begin with. I believe we're getting the rest in Chaos Impact. A lot of the other really good Marincess monsters, like Blue Tang, I believe, is one of them, as well as Crystal Heart and Sea Angel. And I think the Field Spell we're also getting in Chaos Impact. But like, we're getting some of the noteworthy staple cards in Rising Rampage. When I would recommend picking these up immediately. I don't think they'll fetch too much money out of the gate, simply because the deck can't be played at full power upon release. But there's going to be a couple other decks that are going to be fighting for these cards, like Swap Frog decks, Paleo decks, some Mermail decks. But, you know, just taking account the deck can be played on its own is another thing. So that's, oh, and Wonderheart as well. Their Link 4 are going to be coming out in Chaos Impact. So it's sort of like the first wave of Marincess stuff. I would highly recommend picking it up now, and the reason why I don't think it's going to be too expensive is because the deck simply can only be run as an engine for the time being, which I don't think it's too game-breaking in of itself. I think the only help that it really brings is, you know, an enemy working in a couple water decks right now, Mermail and, you know, Paleo Frog decks. I don't think that's going to drive huge prices for this stuff, which is great because I really, really want to pick some of this stuff up. I would love to play an enemy in Mermails, and I would love to play Marincess as a whole some point down the road. So Marincess stuff coming out. A little bit of Marincess stuff. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Marincess cards that I've seen on the spoiler so far, and they're all foil higher rarity stuff. 2 ultra rares, or 3 ultra rares, and 2 secret rares. So definitely going to be harder to get. Some might be short printed, we don't know yet. Obviously there's no pull ratios been released. We'll probably know within the next week or so when we get the sneak peek, but tons of Marincess stuff coming out, tons of Marincess stuff coming out, which is pretty exciting. So definitely one of the better things to look forward to in this next upcoming set. This is a card here. This is Avita, the Dual World Creator. I believe its actual name is going to be Avita, Rebuilder of Worlds, not Avita, the Dual World Creator. So a slightly different name change here in the TCG. And this is going to be a super rare, as we see here on the spoiler, but it says, must first be special summoned from your hand while there are 8 or more link monsters with different names on the field and or in the graveyard. You cannot special summon other monsters this turn you special summon this card. This card's special summon cannot be negated. If this card is special summoned, shuffle all other monsters into the deck from among the cards on the field in the graveyards and face up banished cards. Neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation. Now, that second half seems extremely busted. It cannot be negated. It cannot be responded to. It just completely resets the entire field, even banish things, face up banish things, that is. But it has to be summoned from the hand while there are 8 or more linked monsters with different names on the field and are in the graveyards. Now, that doesn't seem too difficult because it's allowing to take into account to both players' graveyards and both players' fields. So turn 1, is this card ever going to be resolved? Absolutely not. But this is one of those cards that I feel like could just slowly sneak its way in somewhere and just steal a game at an event or something, or be a really nasty side deck card in some sort of matchup that does a lot of link summoning. Because I could easily see it just being one of those rogue side deck cards. It just seems like its effect seems too good just to be overlooked. That's why I wanted to mention this video. Is it going to be super relevant right off the bat? Probably not. Its future relevancy, I have no idea, but it just seems like one of those cards you might want to keep tabs on. That's why I wanted to bring it up in this video. It's going to be a super rare, probably going to be pretty cheap to get off the bat, which is nice. Next, we have a Rising Fire. There was also Fury of Fire. I think that's coming out in this set as well, but I don't think that card's that great. I think Rising Fire is a bit better, so it's a little bit more Salamangreat support, and I think I don't think it's Rising Rampage, but I think it's Chaos Impact we are getting the Salamangreat Link 4 and the Salamangreat Coyote. I could be wrong. if they're in this set, and I'm unaware, I've probably put them on this list, but I think they're coming out in Chaos Impact, because Salamangreat Coyote is a fantastic card for Salamangreat, and they've taken some hits on the ban list recently, and I think those cards will sort of help bump them back up into the scene, if you will. But this card is always treated as a Salamangreat card, much like Fusion of Fire. It says, if you control no monsters, activate this card by targeting one fire monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and equip it with this card against 500 attack. And when this card leaves the field, destroy that monster. If this card in someone's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can banish one monster on the field. So this is just Monster Reborn, essentially. A searchable Monster Reborn, because obviously you have Gazelle being able to dump this card to the graveyard. And we still technically have 1, 2, 3, 4 ways to search Gazelle. Debug, 3 Signet Mining, and the Salamangreat Circle. So we have 5 ways technically to search Gazelle still, even after the hit. But I think having a sort of themed Monster Reborn for the deck is really, really strong. Will this be played in multiple copies? Probably not, but just some food for thought. Salamangreat being hit a little bit on the list, so you kind of got to start looking at other cards, and this is one that comes to mind. Also, one other card I want to mention, just speaking of Salamangreat stuff, is the Signet Backdoor card, becoming a really interesting tech for the upcoming format for Salamangreat, as just sort of an alternate option to search Gazelle. I'm not really entirely sure how it will pan out, but it's just there as sort of an idea. Moving on, we have Get Out, a normal trap card, and anytime we see a new normal trap card that's really good, we think of Trap Trick, that pesky card that allows you to tutor out any normal trap from your deck by banishing that same copy of the card you're trying to get and immediately setting to your field, allowing you to activate the same turn. Get Out is literally Ryanak Ritual Monster in trap form. It says target 2 monsters your opponent controls that were special from the extra deck, shuffle them into the deck. You can only activate 1 Get Out per turn. It's going to be a secret rare. I don't know if I already said that. But the thing that comes to my mind is that just boosts already really powerful trap heavy decks like Paleo, Lair, True Draco. It's just a really good generic trap card. It double compulse for extra deck monsters has never really seemed bad in my mind. And especially since it just shuffles them into the deck. It doesn't destroy them, it doesn't, banish them or whatever, it just shuffles them into the deck. It does target, but it doesn't destroy, and that's one of the big things about this card, and I think it's one of those cards that once it releases, I don't even think this card will fetch that much money. I maybe see this card being 30 to start, and then depending on usage in the upcoming formats, it could go up or down, but it's just one of those traps I feel like you should just get your hands on as soon as possible, because at worst, it's still a decent generic trap. At best, it becomes a really good counter to some of the best decks that we're going to be getting in the future. So Marincess Wave, Ultra Rare, already talked about that with all the rest of the Marincess stuff. White Howling, a super rare trap card, normal trap card. I bring this up because Mermails, Marincess, and Paleo Frog. This is a card that can be splashed in a lot of water-based decks to hurt very spell-oriented decks. It says, if you control a water monster, target 1 spell on your opponent's graveyard, banish them, you do negate all spell effects on your opponent's field this turn. So this gives all these water decks huge heads up against a lot of decks that rely on spell uses. Pendulum decks, Sky Striker to be one of the most noteworthy. It's a really fantastic side deck card going into this next format for water decks, which is really awesome. This card was announced, I believe, a long time ago. A long time ago, but never got it, and we're just now finally getting it. So it's good to see this card coming to the TCG. Going to be a super rare. Definitely going to pick up a playset of this card for sure. Definitely just going to want to have it as a side deck option. Now going forward, looking at some of the extra deck monsters we're going to be getting here. White Aura Monokeros. This will completely finish out, at least for the foreseeable future, the White Aura Synchro lineup. This is the last one we've gotten. We've got Dolphin, we got Whale, and we have Bahamut. That was released as like a promo or something for some reason. We finally now have Monokeros. It says, when this card is synchro summon, you can target 1 fish monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but it cannot attack this turn. You can only use this effect of White Aura Monokeros once per turn. If this card you control is destroyed by an opponent's card, by battle or card effect, and sent to the graveyard, you can banish another water monster from your graveyard, special summon this card, and if you do, it is treated as a tuner. So that second effect has the same clause as all the other White Aura monsters. If they're destroyed by battle or card effect, banish the water, bring it back, much like you see me do with the big old white aura whale many times in the past. Now, the thing with this card that is really cool, I believe it is like one of the only other water level 7 synchros in the game. So yeah, prior to this card's release, there was only one other water level 7 synchro that existed in the game. We now have a second one, and that is White Aura Monokeros joining Gungnir. And why does it matter if they're water? Because Anemone, in my opinion, is such a strong card for the Mermail strategy, allowing you to have access to Prince, even if you open up a card like Undyne, just because of a cool little combo you can do, just to bring it out. You get locked into only waters, and for some time, I was trying to look for other good level 7 monsters, synchros to be exact, to play in Mermail. And Gungnir was a water one that sort of came up, but it really didn't do too much as an extender anyways. But Monokeros allows you to revive a fish monster in your graveyard, which opens up a lot of possibilities. Fishborg Launcher, Pike, just to name a few. Level 4 cards like Abyss Mander. This card can bring back a whole slew of Fishborg monsters. It can bring back the super ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth for more shenanigans there. Like, this card can set up a lot of really cool plays. It can also bring back other white aura monsters because they're all fish monsters. So it's just a really cool extender, and I'm finally great to see that we're getting this card. So yeah, that card definitely looking forward to. Then here we have Apollousa, Bow of the Goddess. Basically, Light and Darkness Dragon in Link form. It says 2+ monsters with different names. It's got tokens, Link 4, question mark for the attack. This card's original attack becomes the number of materials used for its Link summon times 800. So it could be 400, or no, it could be 1600, or it could be at a max of 3200. Yeah, that'd be 800 times 4, I believe. And then once per chain, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can make this card lose exactly 800 attack, and if you negate the activation, you can only control one Apollousa, Bow of the Goddess. So I'm glad they put at least that clause there. So at a max, you could have 4 negations with this card, 4 monster negations. So it's slightly different than Light and Darkness Dragon, I suppose, because that could negate any effect that I believe that was activated. And it had the same clause where it would lose attack after each negate. So this card, it's probably going to show up in a lot of rogue decks. It might even show up in some meta decks, just because you could make this turn 1 and just have your opponent try to deal with this card turn 1, and that's going to be a couple negates that they're going to have to try and get through. Automatic negates. Or no, well, it's not automatic, because I'm thinking Light and Darkness Dragon still. It's optional, but it could give you up to 4 negates, and that's once per chain. And it's not a once per turn, so you could have possibly 4 monster negates with this card if you use 4 monsters, of course, for the summon, 2 at a minimum, which is still pretty good off of 1 Link monster. And now the last card I want to mention, obviously we have, and this is a secret rare as well, White Aura Monokeros, I believe, is a super rare, so it is not a secret rare like Whale, and not an ultra like the Bahamut. It is a super, I believe, like Dolphin. So not too bad. This is a secret rare. These two are secret rares. This is an ultra, the Blue Slug. But Dragunity Knight Romulus, I wanted to bring this card up because obviously we just got Tempest back off the ban list, which is huge, especially for Dragunities, and pretty much any other dragon-based deck. But this card, the main reason I wanted to point this card out is it says, I don't know really how good this will be for Dragunities. I'm assuming it'll be pretty good, in a vacuum, essentially. It says, if this card is linked summon, you can add a Dragunity spell or trap or Dragon Ravine from your deck to your hand. It says 2 dragons and or winged beast monsters. So any dragon deck can play this card and search Dragon Ravine for free, which is so important, especially now that we have Terraforming at 1. So we might see a lot of dragon-based decks in the future using this card just to simply get access to Dragon Ravine, not even taking into account the other effect, which is as if a dragon monster or monster is a special summon from the extra deck to a zone this card points to, you can special summon one dragon or winged beast monster from your hand in defense position, but the rest of the turn its effects are negated. Also cannot be used as link material. You can only use each effect of Dragunity Knight Romulus once per turn. So even that second effect seems pretty damn good. Just specing a dragon monster from hand, use it for synchro or exceeds plays, could have tons of possibilities there. So there you have it. In my opinion, some of the best cards that we are getting. Some of my personal, in my opinion, the cards I think are going to be some of the best cards, top cards in Rising Rampage, whatever you want to call them. If I missed anything, feel free to let me know down in the comment section below. And yeah, join Discord, follow me on Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter. Check out Imperium Duelist, all that good stuff. Links to them down in the description below. As always, guys, I'm going to kill signing out. We'll see you in the next one.